Welcome everyone to Based GigaCast. We got myself, Donathan, Willie, Scott, Jake right here, and with a special guest, Gaussian Snek, who runs the Crypto Simulation Theory YouTube channel and Telegram. He also is the head of FOFAR and has a Snek Gym Telegram channel where he posts some good exercise and workout material. All right, so thank you, Snek, for joining us.
Welcome, Snek, our first official guest, brother. Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to be here.
All right, so first thing, let's talk a little bit about FOFAR. Give a little overview, your one pager of FOFAR.
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here with you guys. Yeah, FOFAR is the last official member of the Boys Club. So that's Matt Fury's Boys Club, which the number one Boys Club member is Pepe. And then, of course, you have Andy, Brett, Land Wolf, and then Bird Dog and us, FOFAR. So we make an appearance in Fury's original Boys Club comic book, basically talking with Land Wolf about a wiener piercing and a 311 quote, let go of regret. So FOFAR is kind of known as being like the unhinged character in the Furyverse, and we definitely take pride in doing that. So FOFAR CTO'd in April of 2024, actually a year and 4 days ago. So we just celebrated our 1 year CTO anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and I originally got into FOFAR from a Quora article, of all things. For those you don't know, Quora is like Reddit, just a little bit more on like the academic side, I guess. And that's kind of when I found out about the Boys Club. So I had missed out on Pepe, and I was looking for like maybe a beta play for Pepe. And I got into FOFAR at a $250,000 market cap and just put a little bit of money in, made some money. It was doing pretty well with it for a while, and then, the market just kind of went on a little roller coaster ride down, and took us all down with it. But we have really high quality memes. I've actually been making a lot of them lately. My wife is the lead artist right now for FOFAR.
That's cool.
Nice.
We've got a meme arcade. So we've got like 3 games in the arcade: Snake Rush, Meme Odyssey, and Meme Fighter, which kind of like a throwback to the 80s and 90s games. So that's something some people don't know about, but it's on our website, fofar.io. That was supposed to be further developed, but the lead developer guy, he unfortunately disappeared. So we don't know if he's coming back or not, but the arcade's still fun. Hey, it happens, So
yeah,
it's crypto. But I took over the main leadership position for FOFAR, I want to say like in January, around then of this year. Although I've been on the team since May. I was invited to be on the team. I actually declined twice because I have a lot of other responsibilities. But yeah, it's been a fun experience. I've learned a hell of a lot, and we've been collaborating with other projects like Bird Dog, Yepe, Spike, Brad on bass, Draggy. There's just so many of them. Dork Lord most recently. So nice. Yeah, we're a Matt Fury project. So we're looking forward to the revival of Ethereum should it come. I think it will.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
I think Cowan is buying now, so maybe that means it still has a pulse at some point.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
ETH Bitcoin is at 0.019 something. So
Jesus, I haven't even looked at it.
The less we say about it, the better. Yeah, it's not far off the 2019 lows at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it'll give everybody a chance to get in. It seems like for those, whatever 6 years, everybody was like, "Oh, I missed it. Oh, I missed it." Well, here's another chance.
Now's your chance.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what got you into crypto initially, Snek? What was your initial journey? How long you been in the space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've been in the space now for 4 years. I've been aware of crypto since Bitcoin first came out, and was tempted to buy some, but then I'm one of the many people who regretted not doing that.
Sure.
And then I almost got some Bitcoin in 2016, ended up buying a house instead. Although if I bought Bitcoin, I could have bought, probably more homes, but whatever.
How does this bleed to Bitcoin?
Hindsight 2020. My first investment in crypto was kind of random, actually. I was remembering my talk with my son about it back in 2016, 2017. And it was 2021, April. I had not been looking at charts or looked at the market or anything. I was just like, you know what? I think I'm going to go look into crypto now. I did not realize that I was getting in like near a significant top. But I remember looking at the charts and going, oh, this looks like kind of like a top. And I didn't really know how to read charts like at the time. I just looked at it and I was like, this is interesting. So I thought I'd buy a little bit of Bitcoin, and things were going okay until the May 2021 crash. My portfolio got cut in half, and yeah, that was kind of my introduction to crypto. And I remember just like feeling really lost and not really understanding how the space worked as a noob. And I joined a bunch of different YouTube channels, ended up settling down with Into the Cryptoverse and getting the premium membership back in November of 2021. And that worked out pretty well. Ben was a rock star during the bear market, and I ended up actually securing quite a bit of Bitcoin. And then I think in like late 2023, quarter three, I ended up kind of like making a big mistake and trying to time this like secondary scare thing that Ben was talking about, and I kind of bought into that. And so I was like, oh, I could like double my Bitcoin. And instead, what ended up happening is the scare was upwards melt up.
Yeah.
Just like it got away from me, and I started to panic. And
was that around high 30s?
I sold like at 38 or 39.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I remember
decision.
that vividly, man. Yeah. I was talking about doing the same thing. I was like, I should take some profits. And Davey Bitcoins was like, don't do it, blah, blah, blah. And he shamed me into not selling. And at that point, I was still pretty easily kind of malleable. But I will thank Davey for that one.
Yeah, Davey's a good guy. Yeah, so like I ended up doing it and immediately regretting it. I mean, I couldn't have sold it at a worse time. I was so mad because it took me, 2 years plus to accumulate that. And so at that point, I realized I was going to have to find other ways to catch up. And so I got into altcoins, joined a private Telegram group, and started learning TA because I was like, you know what? I really need to rely on myself and not rely on other people to do this for me. I had been learning TA up to, for since like 2021, but I really started to like double down on it. And I was just sharing my TA with a private group, and there were a lot of Into the Cryptoverse people who were there with us. We were kind of like a breakaway group at the time, and found that I really enjoy doing technical analysis, like a lot, like more than I can imagine that I would. And
really fun pattern recognition, right?
Exactly.
Scratches that little thing in your brain.
Exactly. And I have a math background and a psychology background, so it kind of works out well. And so like I basically started just getting into like brand new altcoins, and I was doing really well, like considering the circumstances. Like I was getting in early, selling near the top. I wasn't putting in like a whole lot of money, but whatever I was putting in, I was making gains on. And so late 2023 was actually pretty good to me. And then, in early 2024, I started my YouTube channel, and things were going pretty well for the most part. And then like I was able to kind of recognize something didn't feel right in the crypto market. Like I remember like Bitcoin was having green month after green month, and it's like, this seems kind of early for this to be happening. And I was just looking at some of my indicators, and we saw that the March 2024 top, when it came, it just seemed like, wow, this seems a little bit too soon. It was flagging off that this is a very significant top to me through all my indicators. I remember telling my channel at the time, I think a left translated cycle is a possibility, pretty distinct possibility. But anyways, like 2024 was a rough year. Like, honestly, like I started, I found FOFAR, and started to go really heavy in it at the wrong time. Just taking all my profits and then getting more involved with the team and really loving the project, loving Matt Fury's, Boys Club meme coins. And I just got so involved in it, and I kind of rode the thing down to where we are today. And it's been, a blessing and a curse, I guess. But anyways, like I've come to the conclusion, I would say, the hypothesis, won't call it a conclusion yet, that what we just experienced from 2023 to 2024 was kind of akin to what happened to Bitcoin from, I don't remember exactly when in 2019, but during the early part of 2019 when there was an echo bubble from the 2018 drop. And then you had the 2019 to 2020 sort of like risk off period where the markets eventually bled into a very brief recession with the pandemic. So I think what we're experiencing now is very similar in some ways. You have ETH Bitcoin in a bear market, just like it was back then. And Bitcoin was kind of the only thing that really stood out. Like, yeah, Solana ran to a new all-time high, but it wasn't that, wasn't that impressive. And of course, you had a bunch of new projects like Sui and Ondo and other things that were running off and stuff. But overall, it was a pretty lame crypto season. I think we could all agree on that. Like, there weren't any, like, other than like quarter three of 2023, and maybe the back half of 2024. Back half is generous. Like, let's say December, November, December. It's been just a really crappy crypto season. And the only thing I could really say is that it shares a lot in common with 2019 to 2020. And I think the 4-year cycle at this point might as well be a meme. I think it's dead and gone. I think we're following a global liquidity cycle, and that's kind of like, I think all of the technical analysis that I've learned and practiced in the past few years has kind of led me to seeing patterns that match heavily with 1920. So that's kind of like giving me hope that ETH Bitcoin is likely to turn the corner sometime this year. And in fact, another thing that I noticed from studying 2019, 2020 was that ETH Bitcoin actually bottomed in September of 2019, despite the fact that Bitcoin didn't bottom until March of 2020. In fact, ETH Bitcoin printed a higher low. A lot of people don't know this, but it printed a higher low in March 2020. So I think we're likely to see something similar play out this time. It won't play out exactly the same way.
Sure.
But yeah,
so,
that's my story.
do you use a lot of macro with your TA? Because it kind of sounds a little bit like drawing some similarities between the COVID crash and all that and the tariff thing that we're experiencing right now. It's pretty similar.
Exactly. There's always a narrative that, like my belief is that price action drives narrative, not the other way around, right? So yes, absolutely. Like, we have the federal funds rate. It's like almost double what it was during 2019. But in 2019, we had, an elevated FFR. It was among the highest I think it had ever been in crypto's existence. So that was something that's similar to now. There's some differences, of course. But yeah, like the tariffs have been, while I believe that tariffs are a good thing, like sort of like my own personal beliefs that they're good for the U.S. economy in the long term. I think the pace at which they're going is a little bit concerning, to say the least. And I think like the aggressiveness of it is making markets very uncertain, and I am a little concerned about a recession potentially materializing. Even if Trump were to like pivot, let's say, which I don't think he's going to, but I think he wants the Fed to pivot, but let's say that he ended up pivoting in like June or something, and kind of easing up. I still think there's enough damage that's been done that the markets are likely going to fall. So yeah, I do see some similarities to that time period with the macro unemployment. The trend is definitely not going in the right direction. That's something, but of course unemployment's like the last thing that you'll notice to really go up. Initial claims, continued claims, that kind of stuff, I do need to do another look over them, but last I checked, nothing was like really standing out as like we're in a recession, but there certainly is enough concerning signs that we could potentially get into one, maybe. So yeah, I mean, I think like we could have a long bear market. It could last for potentially most of this year. It's possible. Could last into September, November, could be over into summer. I mean, who the heck knows? But I think that regardless, the next phase, if you want to even call it that, of this market cycle or business cycle, I strongly believe from studying past history is going to be very risk on. The only way that I think we would end up in sort of a tight spot where we get a really crappy bull market, even after this like potential bear market, is if we go into stagflation. And that is a concern. Because I don't know if GDP can really keep up with all the changes that are happening. we'll just have to see, and inflation too. Like I am a little concerned about that. So,
right.
Absent that happening, I think we're in for a pretty epic and long-lasting risk-on market, and I think it'll be led by ETH Bitcoin.
Yeah, it takes
so,
so
man.
long for everything to play out, I mean, it's just when there was a big chip shortage. I remember I think it was one of the Japanese plants or something burnt down, and huge microchip shortage. I was in the car business at the time, and people were getting vehicles delivered without various features working because they didn't have the chips to actually make them function. And so they said, okay, we're going to bring chip production onto American shores, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you're talking years to create a factory that's capable of producing the right stuff with the right tolerances, so on and so forth. I mean, all these things take so much time. I've been pretty surprised with how quickly the market's taken a crap with just the really uncertainty and the talk about tariffs. And it's like, these things are just being thrown around back and forth. Like nothing's actually really like in place, so it's like, what, is this like, is this giant dump mini bear market like front running an actual problem that doesn't even precipitate? Like it's interesting.
Markets are forward looking, right?
Oh, very.
So they're going to try to guess what's coming. I mean, from a technical perspective, I can't speak for the stock market because I don't really study the stock market in quite the depth that I study crypto. I mean, I do look at it. I won't say that I don't look at it. I do look at it all the time. But from a purely technical perspective, regardless of whatever the narrative was, whether it was going to be tariffs or something else, according to a lot of the indicators that I look at, that I just can't get past March 2024 being such a significant intermediate top. Like, the 109K double top rhymes a little bit almost with 2021, like in a lot of ways, right? And it's like almost like an echo bubble, like a really drawn out echo bubble from 2021. And that's what reminds me of the 2018 to 2019. Like, I mean, that they're different, right? You had the 2019 parabolic run up to 14K for Bitcoin after the 2016-17, gigantic bull market. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like, sure, the market is front running. I mean, you remember Warren Buffett sold last year, right? Like, he's like, I'm offloading half my, my stuff. So, obviously they knew something, and I saw it in the technicals. I'm like, crypto's really overheated right now. Like, and this was in April, and it was just weird, and it felt eerie. And then I just kind of got in denial about it, like after that, like 6 to 7 month crab trend, which was brutal to go through. And then it's like, oh, okay, the market's back. We're over 100K. Okay, yay, this looks good, And then like kind of like double topped on a smaller time frame, and then it was like, ooh, this doesn't look good. This looks bad. And
flashback to 2022.
What's that?
Flashback to 2022.
Yeah, like exactly, on a smaller sort of time frame. So yeah, I think this mini bear market that we're in, I think it could end up actually feeling like a full bear market by the time it's over. That's the thing that's going to be tricky here. But I think the thing that might be different this time is, and I hope it doesn't play out like this, but in terms of like the length of it, and maybe it'll be shorter, is that a lot of people might be thinking this is it, Bitcoin's not going to do crap for like the next few years or whatever. And I actually think we could see a pretty aggressive market especially with Ethereum. And I think it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. So that's kind of like what I'm forward looking to. I'm planning to buy Ethereum this summer, if things go the way I think they're going to go. But I mean, right now seems a little too risky. Like I could still see the market dumping more, but yeah, I'm very bullish for like 2026. It's kind of weird to be bullish on a year that normally would be your terrifying bear market year.
I was just gonna say that. Wasn't this supposed to be old season and a cool off in 2026?
Yeah. I mean, it just sucks, but
almost seems like shortening cycles with the decreasing volatility in a way.
Yeah, I think we're following the liquidity cycle more so than the halving at this point.
Yeah, exactly. 4-year cycles kind of, it's over speculated, and that ruins,
Right, it gets front run shorter and shorter.
Exactly, and I think we just had a quantitative tightening bull market. So if anybody was ever curious, what would a bull market be like under QT? Well, you just experienced it. So
yeah, kind of flaccid.
Yeah, and if we do get stagflation, which we haven't had in the United States since the 70s, we could see another bull market that just sucks. So my hope is that that doesn't happen. I think Trump is, smart enough to not want to be remembered for creating stagflation and go down like, Richard Nixon.
So let me ask you, because you brought up the tariff thing. Do you think it's actually he wants to implement these tariffs and they're going to go through, or is just a negotiation tactic? Or maybe both?
Yeah, I mean, he is such a clever chess player politically for someone who's not really a politician. He I think like it's just weird. I don't know. Like with him, you just never know. He's always thinking like 10 steps ahead. So I'm not happy with how things have been going, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, well, let's see how this plays out. Because I do think we need to bring manufacturing back here to America and stop relying on foreign countries for imports and stuff, and also letting them screw us over. But yeah, so I don't really know the answer to that question.
Yeah, but like Willie said, that'll take a lot of time to at least get the factories up and running.
Oh,
not saying that it's not worth the effort, just saying how much do you think that can actually be accomplished within the time that he has left?
Not really. Yeah. So I think like if he does in fact get too aggressive with the tariffs and this goes on for too long, I think stagflation's on the table. I don't think Trump would want to be remembered for that, but that's just a fact. I agree with Willie. I don't think American factories can get going that quickly. It's going to take like probably a good decade to like really implement all these changes. So I would like to think that he's just posturing and that he's just trying to get countries that have been very like antagonistic towards us to kind of back off a little bit. I don't know. It's that's kind of what I think, but yeah, what do you think? I don't know beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's the more, I think, probable path, right? Like you're not actually trying to somehow. I mean, obviously, I think he wants to do kind of a little bit of both, almost like try to get more manufacturing here. So I heard the other day that Honda was talking about building some plants here and so on and so forth. Some other automakers have already done things like that, but like you say, it's going to take a long time for that to actually play out. But I mean, he could be looking at this even as more of a legacy well past his presidency. And even if it creates some stagflation for a time, if he's really being true to what he's been talking about and creating sort of another golden era in a way for American manufacturing and things like that, I mean, then he has to be playing a longer game. But like you said, politically, he's pretty savvy. He's a good chess player. He could just be posturing in order to try to kind of bring these other countries to heel on the sort of tariffs.
I think that's what he's doing. That's my base case, but we need to be prepared for anything because I think as a businessman who has been, he's been in the guys. I mean, like, he's one of the best businessmen in I think the world's ever seen, and he has
just imagine the comments now.
What's that?
I can only imagine the comments now.
I can't wait. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I have
continue. I'm sorry.
But no, I have a lot of respect for him. And I just feel like he has to be aware of what the consequences would be if he were to actually try to implement like all these tariffs and get more and more aggressive like the entire year. He knows that would just absolutely destroy the economy. Yeah. So I have to think at some point he's going to take a walk back. I think what he's trying to do is get the Fed to pivot.
Right.
I think he's frustrated that they just continue with the QT.
Yeah. Trying to unlock the dollars, lower the rates. Because that can really help with American manufacturing as well and jobs and things like that.
Exactly. That's until proven otherwise, that's what I'm going to think. So I can't imagine that if the Fed does eventually roll over for him, which I think they have to. I mean, if the stock market, like right now, I don't think they do, but if the stock market tumbles down a little bit more, we're getting into that dangerous territory. And at that point, I feel like the Fed will have to, because last I checked, I haven't looked in a few days, but the probabilities for rate cuts at the May FOMC, I think it was like May 7th, was like, this is the last, like, I checked this like a week ago, so who knows what it is now, but I think it was like 88% hold the line, right? And only 12% were saying 25 basis point cut. So that was kind of like, whoa, damn.
Yeah. It's probably quite a bit different now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
just
look.
Because the drop in the S&P, I mean, NASDAQ, like, I mean, hard to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's shifted more strongly towards rate cuts.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up now and see, because I'm
it'd be
curious.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the market participants are fickle, right? And so they change their mind very quickly. CME Group, I'm gonna look it up. Let's see, on my phone, so hopefully.
Plus, with the drop, I mean, just the drop in just the last week or so has been significant.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, so right now, market participants are still being fairly conservative. Just looking at May 7th, they're saying 69
60-40. Oh, 69.
Yeah, that it would be frozen, and 30.7 that we actually would be getting a 25 basis point cut. And then as far as like, June goes, it's pretty much baked in that we're getting a cut. In fact, this is interesting. I'm going to have to put this in my next video because this data is looking totally different. It pretty much looks like cut in June, cut in July, cut in September, and cut in December. So
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of spells potential recession to me. Like if we see a series of cuts like that, something's been broken pretty badly. And I think it's going to be painful for those of us in crypto, but this is sort of where my risk on thesis comes from. That it's like, you think of the COVID crash, it was very fast and it was quick and over with. I don't think this one will be like that. I think this might drag out for most of the year, but
makes a lot more sense.
I think that the S&P might, so the S&P will probably, who knows exactly when it would bottom. It could bottom near a floor or bottom before the floor. Like history shows, there's no way really to predict that. But I think it's safe to assume that Bitcoin will bottom before the S&P most likely. And ETH Bitcoin will bottom probably before Bitcoin, because that's what happened in 2019, 6 months before Bitcoin bottomed. So kind of like that transition from risk off to risk on can be very painful and slow, but yeah, it's crazy. But I think that's what's happening right now, like at least as far as crypto is concerned. But that's interesting that the rate probabilities have shifted quite a bit since I last looked at them.
Yeah, I mean, really, the probability of a cut almost doubled.
Yes.
Would you say it was 18 before, 18 to 31?
No, last time I looked, it was 12%, so it almost tripled.
Geez. Yeah, that's a huge difference. Well, and like you said, with ETH BTC potentially bottoming prior, so on and so forth, because further out the risk curve, right, you have people that, investors that are less risk averse, kind of going to want to be the first ones back into the pool.
Yes, precisely.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't think that this next phase, and I'm calling it a phase because I still feel like this is one, like, people could call it a brand new cycle. Sure, go ahead. For me, it's just a continuation. And I feel like this is the risk on phase that's coming, where it's like, oh, this is the bull market we were all waiting for. Okay. Like, all right, like Ethereum's actually doing something other than bleeding against Bitcoin. So I'd like
let's say, Snek, sorry to interrupt you. Let's say that
right.
we get further down into a deeper, right? Let's say that ETH BTC isn't bottoming right now. How deep would things like, let's say Bitcoin, you could say maybe a Bitcoin price or ETH BTC ratio or whatever, but how deep would, like, let's say Bitcoin have to go for you to consider like the next kind of consolidation break to the upside be really a new cycle?
To be a new cycle? Oh, that's a really good question. Because to me, for a cycle, the way I define a cycle is kind of changed from maybe what I thought maybe a few years ago. I look at like risk off to risk on, and I think of it as one big long cycle. So I would have to see Bitcoin dominance just stay persistently elevated, and then see let's say Bitcoin went to like touched at like 38K or something on the way down in a nasty recession, or even whipped to 32K. And you saw Bitcoin dominance just continue to grind in the 60s or wherever it is and start to move up. Then I would probably say I think this is a new cycle, and that we just didn't get a risk on cycle.
Sure.
And then we would look back at 23, 24 as a really crappy left translated cycle. Like, we just say that was a really shitty cycle. Like, it sucked.
All right, very muted. I mean, we had a little meme run, kind of, but like, how big did Pepe get? Like somewhere around 10 billion?
It was around 10 billion, which is impressive. It's
Yeah.
not an easy feat, but really,
but most
like,
of the other memes in previous cycles have gone, what, like 30 to 60?
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers, but
for like the bigs, like Sheeb and Doge.
But you know, all Bitcoin pairs were bleeding pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
You know, like if you look at like total 3 divided by Bitcoin, you take stables out or you keep them in, either way, it just looks crappy. Like, it's just a bear market. Like, and so yes, there was an altcoin season, like from late 2023 to the beginning of 2024. And there were a lot of new altcoins that ran really hard. And Pepe was created in April, I believe, of 2023. Pepe had a rough time for most of 2023. It didn't really explode until February of 2024. That's when Pepe had his huge asymmetric upside move. But like, you have to kind of cherry pick coins that did. Like, Bonk was another one that ran really hard in 2023. You know, with another one that ran really, really hard. But there was never a point in this cycle, if you consider that 23, 24 was an entire cycle, there wasn't a single point where all altcoins just went up.
Yeah.
And that's happened every single cycle.
Yeah, looking at others BTC or ETH BTC, yeah. That was my whole like exit thesis was, okay, once we get a turnaround on ETH BTC, like I started swapping Bitcoin to ETH around 0.049. And then, you know, a little bit here and there, more at 0.0 whatever, you know, 43, 0.037, so on and so forth. And then eventually I was like, motherfuck, like, is this ever gonna turn around? And I mean, it just simply hasn't. And in all prior cycles, obviously, it's turned around and you have some kind of alt season. And so it kind of was like, well, when that looks like it's getting toppy, when ETH BTC looks toppy after the reversal, like that seems like a great point to exit to me. So that was kind of my sort of plan, which got shot to hell, obviously. This has been nothing but down, you know. So that was that's been a rough one.
Ethereum is very much a risk on asset. I feel, to me, it's the king of the risk on bull market. Like, see, I've kind of like transitioned my way of thinking about crypto bull markets: risk off, risk on. You know, just, I guess every business cycle is slightly different. So to me, the moment that the market starts to sniff out some quantitative easing of some kind, like they start to sniff that we're heading in that direction, I think ETH Bitcoin will bottom. Whether that happens this month or May, I don't know, but I do expect it to bottom soon. And I mean, I've been looking at indicators for ETH Bitcoin, just taking out the narrative, taking out the noise. They are getting so incredibly overextended away from like moving averages, momentum. It's ridiculous. Like, it's crazy overextension. So multiple, like 3-4 standard deviations below the mean, you know, like it's just insane. It's and we're at the 2019 lows. So to me, this is do or die time for ETH Bitcoin. This is where ETH either becomes a long-term bleeder against Bitcoin, which we don't want to see, from the number 2 crypto by total market cap, or ETH Bitcoin at the very worst double bottoms relative to 2019, and we, you know, it starts moving. I would actually not like to see that either. I want to see it put in a low, like kind of now, and say, okay, 0.018,
slightly
that's fine.
Higher low.
Yeah, slightly higher low relative to 2019. I think then at least you can say, well, okay, it's still probably an oscillator. You know, like, I don't want to see it go below.
Maybe in sort of an uptrend.
Yeah, I think it's going to take time, you know, but like in 2019, you had the September 2019 bottom, and then in January of 2020, ETH Bitcoin, I forget if it was December 19 or January 2020. I think it was January. ETH Bitcoin put in a double bottom. So it didn't really print a higher low. I mean, it was a slightly higher low, but it didn't print a noticeable higher low until the March 2020 COVID drop. That's a noticeably higher low if you go back and study the chart.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes to show me that, okay, as soon as the market starts to sniff out that quantitative easing is coming, I think people will start to more willingly go into Ethereum.
Yeah.
Like you said, they want to be the first ones in. So
right.
I that's my thesis for now. I really think that I heard something about an April Fed meeting or something. I was reading it. I don't know much about it, but I have to think that the pressure is being put on Jerome Powell and the Fed to like do something, like other than just sit there and freeze rates. So yeah, we'll see. I don't want to see ETH become a bleeder against Bitcoin. I think that's, there's a lot of people who hate Ethereum and they'll probably be like cheering for that. But it's like, okay, so if the number 2 crypto by market cap is a bleeder against Bitcoin, what does that say about the space?
Right.
Yeah.
It basically kind of shoots holes in everything except for Bitcoin.
Exactly.
It means Ripple's taking over. That's what it means.
Yeah.
Old Brad, garlic bread coming out like a rose.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, with all this uncertainty in the market, are you a practicing stoic? Have you studied the greats?
I mean, I'm familiar with the basics of stoicism. I mean, that's a whole nother topic though. So
exactly. We're moving.
Well, so what elements of stoicism are you thinking about?
Well, I'm just wondering, with your looking at the markets and everything, do you internalize any of, is there anything that pops out that you would say you're identify with? I mean, Willie, he's got, how do you pronounce it? Willie, you call it something, I call him something else.
What, Epictetus?
Epictetus, okay.
Or Epictetus. Yes. It depends on, I just think Epictetus sounds dumb. And maybe that's how it was pronounced back then. So I say Epictetus.
I think it sounds dumb, so that's what I say. So.
Like self-control?
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, go on.
Aurelius is one of the most well-known Stoics, and lots of quotes come from him, but they were passed down basically, kind of through different Stoic philosophy teachers. So, Epictetus he really, in his discourses and Enchiridion, he has a lot of stuff that you'll see in other things that were attributed to Aurelius. And so Aurelius learned from basically one of Epictetus's students. The lineage isn't really that well documented. But basically just we, at Base GigaChad, we're big on Stoic philosophy and kind of helping to craft yourself into the ultimate kind of man through mindfulness and through control of emotion and stuff like that. So, sometimes that can really help people navigate such a volatile market.
Yeah, okay. I think I understand where you guys are getting at. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's some great merits to practicing Stoic principles. I don't really think about it that much, but what I've done is, so I mean, running a crypto channel and then being 95% down on your portfolio when things were going great for a few years really sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. There's no other way to put it. And knowing that you're probably going to be down even more before this is all said and done, and then have to make all that back up on the way back up, which is terrible risk management. So there's, I allowed myself to be a little self-critical, but ultimately the way I'm handling things now is just kind of the one day at a time philosophy. I'm out of the market otherwise, other than just whatever I have in FOFAR at this point, because I will not sell it because I feel responsible to the community to help as a whale, to help stabilize the project and not create another gigantic dip and also not exit at a crazy loss. So I think, but yeah, on the day-to-day, trying to think as far as stoicism goes, I mean, yeah, I just practice one day at a time philosophy, which is today's a brand new day, tomorrow might be better, and I'm not going to try to think too far into the future about the problems that are beyond my control. I can't control what's going to happen to the market in May. I can't control what's going to happen this summer. If we have a
Sure.
bear market that lasts till 2026, I can't control that either. But I can control, the money that I'm accumulating on the side through work to not just dump that in randomly and, or whatever, or the sunk cost fallacy, right? Where I just keep pouring money into a burning fire.
Right.
And then I just try to focus on other things. Like I've tuned out a little bit. I mean, running a crypto channel and running a CTO, as you know yourself, Jonathan, like you can't really tune out entirely, but like I focused on other things that are just fun, like making memes and, like I know we have our workout group and just continuing to prioritize fitness and spending time with family. And I think it's okay to like feel your emotions. Like I
Sure.
certainly like that's why I think stoicism is sort of an ideal, but in practice, I think it's okay to say this sucks, but not to get like overwhelmed with negativity. Like I think that's
Sure.
kind of where I draw the line. Like I'll allow myself to say, yeah, I'm down 95% and it sucks. And I'll probably be down 99% before all this is over. And that sucks even more. But I'm trying to look for like the positive things to focus on in, in a market like this. And even outside of the market, like with the meme coins, forming partnerships is something that I'm seeing. Like other projects, they're also like FOFAR. We used to be nearly $20 million market cap at one point. Now we're struggling to stay over 300K, but I see
Right.
other projects that are struggling with 50K or 10K. And they
We're
have,
right in there. We're like 50, I think, something like that.
It's
yeah,
brutal. It's demoralizing for sure when you just
Yeah,
look
it's
at the
crazy.
numbers. But I mean, you're right. You just got to keep on going through. But what you were talking about, it reminded me of one of my favorite quotes from Epictetus: "Is it's not what happened. It's not what happens to you. It's how you react to it." It's kind of that's the gist of it. I don't remember the exact words, but I mean, it kind of goes in with what you're talking about. You can't control the market, but you can control how you react to it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And I think,
and
go ahead.
crossing that bridge when you get to it, right? It's like there's no a man that worries about and causes himself anxiety about something in the future suffers twice, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's going to be bad. Like you need to kind of handle that when you get to it. When you get to the bridge and it's out, all right, now how do we rebuild it? You don't worry about that until that kind of visits you.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know there's going to be another bull market. Like I'm 100% sure of that. I just can't tell you when, right? So
Sure.
it's like between now and then, I'm just going to keep grinding. I'm going to keep making videos, interacting with my community, making memes and forming partnerships. Cause like, what else can I do? I already know nobody's going to come in and drop, 200K on FOFAR. Like, it's not going to happen. Right. So, um, I don't even think we've even reached the floor yet. Like so it's just a matter of like keeping the community happy, active, engaged, and entertained. And that's
Yeah.
like all you can do. And you just control what you can
Yep.
and live with the results of like, okay, I chose to put in a shit ton of money into this project and I knew what the risks were. And now I'm just living the downside risk. So
That's very much, Snek, that's very much a Stoic philosophy, like kind of ideal, or, I mean, that whole control what you can, discard the rest, that's definitely a paraphrasing of an Aurelius quote for sure that I'm sure you learned from somebody else. And to your point, like, it's definitely okay to feel the emotions. And that's kind of Stoic philosophy doesn't say like that you shouldn't feel emotion. I would say
okay.
that's almost more close to Buddhism in a way, or one of those like where it's like the meditation to almost feel nothing or something,
Okay.
but more of the, like the other day or maybe earlier today, um, but I was writing to some other guys like that. I think that basically controlling or eliminating emotions is impossible, right? But anyone with practice can control their actions. And so that's
Yeah.
the main thing. Like you said, control what you can, feel the emotion. It is what it is. And emotion's healthy. Even fear and things like that are healthy. Identify them, figure out why they've propped up, and then deal with them as you need to and as you're capable of, for sure.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I try to speak to on my channel, I've seen people, they start to catastrophize, which is like the opposite of what happens during a bull market, right? During a bull market, peak mania, which I don't really feel like we've seen this cycle, but in past cycles, at least I could speak from 2021 where I was actually in it. You see people getting really like whatever the opposite of catastrophizing is, maybe delusional, right?
Sure.
They start to think like the market's never going to go down, like it's only going to go up, and they start to just pour all their money in it and literally create the top of whatever asset they're doing that with, and let some of the people who've been in longer just kind of take their money. I think we're experiencing the opposite of that now, which is I guess, catastrophizing. And I've seen people in my chat saying that stuff. Or we're heading into like a multiple year recession, depression. Sure. And I'm just like, let's just take things one day at a time, guys. Like one day at a time. Like we're not there yet. Like, in fact, we're not even in a recession yet. Like,
right.
So it's like, why let your mind go those places? But that's just human fear, right? And greed.
Yeah, the super doom is definitely the opposite of the everybody's a genius, like super cycle real phase, right?
Yeah, says everybody's an idiot, right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. I know one way that a lot of us deal with some of those stresses and frustrations is a good physical activity. You want to tell us a little bit about Snek Gym, how that came about?
Yeah, of course. I've been a big proponent of health and fitness pretty much my whole life. But I went through a really painful life event in 2012, and I found solace in weightlifting. Like, I've always been a runner, and stayed pretty active and fit, but that was the time that I really decided to get into weightlifting. So it's just a practice that it's been very important to me ever since 2012. And it kind of got me out of a really dark place and into a better one. And so I would occasionally post about my workouts in the private group I was part of, and then some of those people filtered over into crypto simulation theory. And JB Growth, or Jeff Chart Art, he and I became pretty close from the other private group, and then also at crypto simulation theory. And I kind of mentored him when he was developing his precision crypto trading on some things, like certainly not his market principles. He's a master of that, but just like more superficial things, community building, that kind of stuff. And he loves to work out. I love to work out. And I think it was him that came up with the idea that I should start a workout group, because we would occasionally post about it in the chat and there'd be people who are interested. So before we were called Crypto Simulation, there's always the name of my YouTube channel, but
Snek Pit.
It was called the Snake Pit, and it's a fun name, but it just didn't really. I was like, too many names, and I don't want to make this about me. So
you want cohesion.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I thought it'd be funny to call it the Snek Gym. So that's just kind of like that's just what I called it, and it kind of a tribute to an homage to the Snake Pit. And yeah, it was just me, Jeff, and a few other guys in there in the beginning, and then over time it's grown. Every now and then I'll post a link to it in the chat. When I haven't really been getting that many new members to crypto simulation theory, I think partly because I haven't been posting videos very often, and then also just the market.
Oh yeah, just the market, dude. Everybody's telegrams are dead right now.
The social metrics are abysmal.
Yeah, so I'm feeling it, but like yeah, we have like I think 30.
It's a great time to start a podcast, right? Now that nobody's tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go on. Sorry.
That's content for people to binge later.
Exactly. No, yeah, exactly. I mean, so like, yeah, we started the group, and at the time I was using an app called Workout. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's on the App Store. And I've had personal trainers in the past, and dating back to 2012 or 2013, 2014, and like I know my way around the gym pretty well for the most part, but there's always new stuff I can learn. And so that was kind of what we were doing. We were just sharing our workouts and like things, maybe stuff about diet, which that's definitely not my area of expertise, but yeah,
and motivation, so like, of course.
I get stressed out as fuck with the crypto market, and yes, there's nothing like a good workout. Like, to be honest with you, nothing.
Especially
like
throwing around iron. Like you said, you were a runner before, but like moving iron is just different.
Yeah, like I still run. Like I'm probably gonna do some cardio tonight, but I'm definitely more focused on functional fitness. And yeah, so I have a gym in my garage that I built during COVID, because I knew the gyms were gonna close down. And yeah, so like I've got everything I need in there. And you know, yeah, I mean, there's just something very meditative about lifting weights, because for me it's like, it feels like stretching. It's like stretching with weights. Like that's what lifting is to me. And you know, that slow, just okay, slow down, focus on your negative movement, now explosive push up, you know. And it's just like takes your mind off of like worry, and then plus you get the endorphins afterwards and you feel really good. And
Definitely.
yeah, so for me, I prioritize working out over making YouTube videos, sometimes over my work, sometimes over spending time with my family. Like it is like that has to happen. Like it just, that gym is my sacred space. And so for me, like 4 times a week is pretty good. Sometimes I'll go 5, never more than that. Never
Yeah.
fewer than 3. It's just
Gotta rest.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and for me, it's just been a great way to also have a group to just not focus on the depressing market. Like, because really, it's like, what am I going to post on a day-to-day basis? Yeah, guys, the market sucks. Oh, guess what? The market sucks more today.
Yeah,
Oh
here's
yeah,
more TA on red candles.
yeah. Like it gets to be kind of like, I see why people tune out. You know, like I used to wonder why people tune out. Like, because I was very tuned in 2022, but now I get it. Like I'm tuning out myself, like, and catching myself like, God, I haven't posted a video in like 9 days. Like,
Right.
whereas I was grinding like daily back in when
Yeah.
I started my channel. So, but yeah, with working out, it's been great to watch the group evolve. Like, and just, you know, Donathan, I've seen you active in there, and Willie, you've been kind of in and out of there.
Yeah.
But it's just been nice. Jeff's a beast. He's like, you know, that alpha personality where he's got to be the best at everything. So he comes in and shames us all with his like
He's
sweat
super
workouts.
consistent.
Yeah,
He's very consistent.
he is.
He
Yeah.
convinced me to get clubs and all that the other day.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he's insane, man. Like we had we did a live stream together. So before the live stream, him,
That
GR,
was really good. I enjoyed that.
it was fun. We had chatted though for probably 6 or 7 hours between 2 phone calls. And he is hilarious. He's just a funny guy. Like he'll make you laugh. Like it's just shit he says. But yeah, he has like some crazy equipment that I've never seen or even heard of before. So
Yeah, I like to tease him a little bit about his Bulgarian bags. I try to make some homoerotic jokes to get a chuckle out of him.
yeah, that's funny. So yeah, it's a great group. I mean, if any of you, I know Jake and Scott, like Donathan, you can share the link with them, and if they want to join.
Shoot me an invite for sure.
Yeah. That's actually one thing I don't think people really understand much when it comes to like exercise and all of that, if how much it actually makes a difference and can help you clear your mind if you find something that you just kind of zen out with. Not everyone's gonna like go into like a gym and pump an iron. Some people like I prefer body weight and calisthenicsy kind of stuff.
Sure.
So going on like a pull-up bar and just doing different kinds of push-ups and all of that is much more my style, and it really makes a difference once you find something that you actually enjoy and you are looking forward to doing. You don't have to kind of like force yourself and push yourself. I mean, obviously there's going to be those days, but it really is a game changer in just how you're able to deal with not only the market, just life in general, because life can kind of suck some of the times. You just need that out.
Yeah, I agree with you, you know, and in a bull market, the market can be an escape from your life. You know, it's like, well, my life isn't going great, but at least my money's growing. It's like the opposite now. I do not want to look at my portfolio. Like I avoid looking at it because it's like, I know it's going to look horrible. It's like, how many times do I need to remind myself that, you know, my risk management sucked? Like, like I don't need to keep doing that. But that's not all there is. Like I've realized, like, even with that disaster financially, I never invested like my entire life savings or anything like that. Like I always left a cushion. So it wasn't as big of a cushion as it should have been, but I'm still able to take my wife out and go do things. And I'm realizing myself, like, I've had this realization about wealth, and it's like I don't need to be like super rich. Like there's a lot of things I can do that don't cost like a ton of money and we can still have a great time. Like I took my wife to the paranormal circus this past weekend and it wasn't like super expensive or anything. And then we got dinner, and the weekend before that we went to Napa. The weekend before that we went clubbing. So like I'm still having a good time. It's not
What
like
is the paranormal circus?
so the paranormal circus. Have you ever been to Circus Soleil?
Yeah.
Okay. So think like it's like a lower budget version of that, and it's Halloween themed. So it's like Halloween in April. So like they have this huge tent set up, then they travel around all over the world with this tent, and inside is like a mini haunted house. And if you're into that stuff, it was just like a lot of fun. Like it's like, okay, it's April and it's Halloween themed. This is awesome. And so they had a really good haunted house, and then you go into the circus, and it's all your typical circus acts, but with like a Halloween like bent to it. So you have people dressed up like as zombies and doing crazy shit all over the stage, and there's a lot of really cool jokes, and I don't know, it was just fun. Like, so yeah, that's what
Yeah,
paranormal
that sounds
circus.
interesting.
Look it up. They might be coming to your city. It was
That,
pretty
Right.
cheap.
that type of stuff's always fun because it's just something different,
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I went to one a few years back. I was trying to make it out when it was in my city a couple weeks back, but I didn't get to. My fiance was pretty upset. But yeah, no, it's a great time. Definitely something different.
Yeah, I mean, like when the market is shit like this, you just got to go out and find things to do. Like I was hiking in the redwood forest, like back when we were in Napa. We did that for like half a day. Like it just gets your
Oh,
mind
that's cool.
off of it.
That's
Just
cool.
gets your mind off of the markets. Like
Yeah.
it's so important to do that.
Well, and to your point too, like sometimes that a loss can be so grounding. Like that happened to me. I mean, I was up so huge on alts and stuff, and then just simply didn't sell and blah blah blah, and then kind of found really Jeff and GR's program a little bit too late. I'd found it way earlier, but I thought, this is probably just another grifter. Like I didn't really like dig into it. You know what I mean? And also, I was being lazy and I didn't want to really take control of everything. I probably just wanted the easy button, like DCA risk levels, right? Like a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so then I was staring at this giant loss, not an actual loss necessarily, but a loss of potential,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, you start to you have a couple weeks where you're like, God, what an idiot, like I just want to shoot myself in the face.
Yeah.
And then you go, well, look at all these blessings that I have, look at all the wonderful things in my life, look at this, like you said, like you still have enough. And we don't need that much. You get so focused on this giant, like you get so focused on having $1 million or $2 million or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
or 5 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin, or you know what I mean, like there's
Yeah.
a thing that you get kind of in your mind, you're like, then I'll be happy, kind of a thing. And you forget to just live now, and so it's like, even though I was down so badly from this peak of like alt gains, I'm like, fuck it, let's start. I mean, I've been waiting to like build a garden and finish some of these home improvement projects and things. Like I'm waiting. Once I get out of the market and go to cash and stuff, then we'll do this and we'll do that. It's like, why are you waiting for this? Like nothing is guaranteed. Death comes for us all at any moment. And I'm like, start living now. And in fact, it's been quite freeing in a way. Obviously, still disappointed that I didn't lock in gains earlier, but it, you can take some of that good out of it, like focusing on the good things in your life, all of the wonderful things that you have, the time spent with your family, and the more simplistic, positives.
Yeah. Really well said. I also have home improvement projects that have been stacking up, like I want to
Yeah,
replace my flooring, and it's exactly like, well, we'll just live with what we have, there's no other choice right now. Like that
sure.
money is simply not there. And I was also up in the market several times. Like I wouldn't say like a lot, but there were enough opportunities for me. I could have made out with a lot of money, but I didn't. So, you know, it's like, okay, well, that was then, this is now, you know, and
Right.
it's just that exactly like what you're saying. Like, I think the people who like over focus on their crypto portfolios and just stare at them all day long, they're the ones who end up making, like, they'll sell like at a huge loss at the wrong time, and then the market gets away from them, and then they just like, God, why did I sell or whatever, like.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, I'm glad
especially without a plan.
Especially without a plan. Like, I'm glad you found Jeff and GR. You know, GR was one of the first people to join my channel. And he found me off an arrow video that I did. And it's always a hilarious joke in my channel that I would like, I found arrow right at the bottom and I didn't buy any. And I had an opportunity. And I had an opportunity for like a 30x, you know, of a lot of money too. So I just like have to laugh at it now. But I was kind of known as the arrow guy. And that's where a lot of people in my channel came from. And I was like, I don't really want to be known for a coin that I didn't buy. So I stopped making arrow videos after a while because I'm like, I don't want to be the arrow guy.
Sure.
But yeah, he was like really hungry for knowledge. And like, I met with him privately a few times and I'd share a lot of the TA stuff that I knew. But I wasn't somebody who really had like great risk management skills. That wasn't really my wheelhouse, which definitely I'm improving on now. But you know, Jeff, he, even back when we talked privately, like, he has this like extensive background in the stock market, you know. Like, I'm sure he's told you guys about it. Like, I don't know how much I can like reveal publicly, but other than he has a lot of experience, more than most of us.
I don't personally know much about it. I haven't seen much him talk much about it. So yeah, I don't know.
I know he's met some high profile people.
Yeah, we'll just say that
nice lunches.
You know, without giving away too much about
good
him.
call.
Like, he knows a lot. We'll just leave it at that. Like Swing Trader, right? He's another guy who is just a wealth of knowledge. So it was nice to see Jeff in my channel, and then, you know, GR, and I encouraged them to connect, and they did, and really the two of them created Precision Crypto Trading along with Stubbs. I should say three of them. And yeah, that's just, I think when the bull comes around, that thing's going to blow up like crazy.
Oh yeah. I've been kind of telling people about it recently and trying to get more people in there because it's helped me even selling, even capitulating, you know, realistically pretty recently. Like, I capitulated pretty much all of my alts, I think, on like March 28th or 9th or something like that.
Okay.
I mean, it's been like a week plus, just barely a little bit. But I mean, I think so. I was watching Arrow, for example, to use something we just talked about. So I had an Arrow bag, just watching it decline and decline, and so it sort of creates a little bottom right in the kind of 48-ish cents range, you know. And I'm like, well, maybe this is the bottom. But I watched it like a hawk, and as it was basically breaking down, like right through that kind of 49, 48 range, I'm like, yep, fuck it, I'm out. And, you know, then today it's, I don't know, 30 cents or something.
Yeah, and it might go down to 7 cents again. I mean, like,
yeah. And so, you know, for me, that was one of the things when I first got into PCT. I should have just launched everything and just reevaluated and said, okay, here we're gonna completely change our mindset. But everything takes that confidence of confirmation, you know. So it's like you have to spend enough time reading some books, doing the research, actually kind of doing the diligence to say, okay, this is the right thing for me to do or to improve myself, instead of just, oh, I'm going to jump ship real quick. You know, you don't want to just quickly make a snap decision and kind of bop into the next thing. That's where people get really hurt, obviously, you know.
Yeah, I know. You, Willie, and we talked a lot when we were talking about this, and it's very hard to kind of explain mental the mindset that you need to be in and kind of adopt, especially when you're like, I've seen success doing something even if you know it's suboptimal. To adopt a different mindset that is going to be better long term, but it's like, I'm comfortable where I'm at. I don't like being uncomfortable, and I know that I can get at least some results, and the other one is just kind of a big mystery. So I know we talked a lot about that.
Yeah, and growth is always painful, right? I mean, it requires hard work. you know, whether it be in the gym
Yeah.
or on the charts and books,
Yeah.
and it's time and hard work. And, you know, like I was a great bottom fisher for a while, and Snake, it sounds like you're kind of like, kind of almost your specialty was like identifying these kind of early gems in a way. It's like you found Arrow, you found so many other projects
Yeah, I
before
did.
they've blown up, right?
I
And it's like
found.
that works amazing. And then you're like, but I don't take profits. And that was my
Well, no, I
problem
did
too.
take profits. I was
I
actually
did not.
I was really good at entries and exits, but here my problem was always second guessing myself. So not listening to my gut. And that is something I absolutely have to change going forward. Like I actually got entirely out of the market in April, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I took my money out. I was kind of near break even. I wouldn't say I was like at a gain. I was at a slight loss from some fumbles, but I just pulled all my money out. And I remember people on my channel just kind of looking at me like, what are you doing?
Like what?
Yeah. And I started to like even question myself. Jeff actually got out around the same time that I did too. And he got out a little bit before me, but I was just looking at my indicators. I'm like, market is overheated. Like this doesn't look good. And I remember just wanting to be all cash. And um, then I got into some debates with people on my channel, and I kind of like let it get to me, and I started to doubt myself, and then I started entering back into positions again, and that was a mistake. And that includes like getting into FOFAR, which actually ended up working out fairly well until it didn't. So, because I got into FOFAR at the very bottom somehow. I don't even know how. I just got lucky and just built up a position, and I was in profit. And then I started reinvesting my profits to try to help the chart out on the way down, because I thought we were going to maybe go up end of year or something, and yeah, that didn't happen. So,
Right.
but I knew not to do that. Like I knew I probably shouldn't be putting the money in, but I went and did it anyways. So for me, my biggest problem is honestly just second guessing myself, and that goes all the way back to 2021. I bought $30,000 worth of Solana at like $28. And I was like, oh, I know this is going to go up. This is going to go up. I just know it. And then I remember at the times before I discovered Ben, I didn't trust my own instincts enough. And so I was listening to George from Cryptos RS.
Yes.
Biggest mistake of my life.
I want to want to talk about that because I tried looking. I watched him. I can't even remember when it was. It was like 20. I feel like it was around 2017 or something. I tried looking at all of his old videos because I knew he was like big on Neo at the time, and I wanted to rewatch some of that. And I can't find any of them. I think he deleted them all.
Probably, yeah. The dude's a bit of a grifter. So
he made good calls. Like he was one of
They're
those
good until they
guys who
aren't,
made
right?
the good. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I had better risk management, I probably could have played him a little bit better, but
Sure.
it was just kind of interesting. I tried to go back and I couldn't find any of his old stuff.
So I remember him like fudding. He was, and he always says no FUD, but he had brought something up. I remember about the SEC back then, and altcoins being listed as securities, and he was making it like a bigger deal than it probably should have been. And I started to freak out, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going straight into Bitcoin. So I sold my Solana back to Bitcoin. I made a little bit of money off of that trade, but Solana then went on to like what, 200 and something dollars, and I just like was like, crap. I just missed that move. Like I could have had like close to 300K, off of a 30,000 investment. And I had like, I had made some money. It was just not much, comparatively. And so it was just crappy second guessing decisions, one after another.
But that'll also eat you alive too, thinking about the what if scenarios of like, well, I should have put more in, because then you'll see another setup that's not as good. And then you feel like, I don't want to have that what if scenario again, and you overextend into something that's maybe not as good. Yep. And you lose out bigger.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of what happened with FOFAR. I mean, as much as I love the project, I just went too heavy in it, and at the wrong times. And there were multiple times that I could have gotten out, but then at the same time, I gotten so involved with the team that it was just kind of like the pressure of, I don't want to let this community down. And I mean, I feel that way now for sure. And there's no point in me selling right now. Honestly, it'd be stupid for me to sell. But But yeah, that's exactly what you said. If I would just listen to my gut, though, like I'll be in a much different place right now because I made some really good calls. It's just I didn't follow through.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, like, when Jeff talks about having rules, you know, that's the thing that I'm implementing on myself and kind of imposing on myself now, because I was in the same boat as you, like having some fantastic, like I was a great bottom fisher. I mean, some great bottom buys on different things. And but then it's like, all right, now what? Like, now I caught the badger by the scruff of the neck. Now what do I do with it?
Yeah.
You know, that was the problem for me in not taking profits.
Yeah, I think Jeff is a gem to have in this space, honestly. Like he's bringing some principles from his, previous life over, and it's just like adapting them to crypto, and charts are charts,
Yeah,
So
100%.
it's
Well,
going
like
to
he
work.
says, the program kind of almost works better, you know, like Minervini's kind of ideals sort of work better almost in a way for crypto. And he's just such a helpful guy too. Or he's really, like you said too, he's a funny guy, great spirit, like just generosity of spirit, you know. Yeah, like the dude a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know how long you guys want to run this. We're about an hour and 10-ish or something like that. But I know one question I want to ask before we finish, whenever that may be, is some of us absolutely love conspiracy theories, and I'm wondering, Snek, if you have any cool, fun conspiracy theories that you enjoy, maybe that you believe or what have you. Could be a moon landing, could be any kind of thing. If not,
Okay.
no worries.
I'm not huge on conspiracy theories, but I think definitely believe quite a few that I've heard. So I think the one that I would probably go with, I don't know if it's really that much of a conspiracy theory anymore, is JFK
Okay.
being shot by the CIA.
All right.
I mean, there
That's a
was,
pretty good one.
a release of documents so recently by Trump, but
You can compare that to the Trump attempt, or is that too far?
oh no, not at all. I find that to also be very I mean, we know the government doesn't like Trump, so it's not, or the establishment. I like the deep state? Yes, I believe in the deep state, and I think the deep
Sure, yeah.
state's a bit of a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's funny how conspiracy theories, they get crapped on by a lot of people, what I would consider like quote unquote normies,
Yeah,
and then it's like and then 20 years later, it becomes like it comes out that it was actually true, and the conspiracy theorists are right, and everyone just goes, and they just kind of wave their hand at it, pish posh, like it doesn't matter anymore anyway. And it's like, yeah, but bitch, we were right, like
yeah.
that
I
it
mean,
was the case.
the biggest conspiracy of all is fiat money. I mean, fiat currency, I should say. Like the Fed. The Fed is the biggest conspiracy. They're a privately owned bank.
Yeah, what's that book? The monster or the beast from Jekyll Island or whatever it is,
Oh yeah, I've
about the
heard of that.
creation of the Fed.
Yeah, like just the Fed, the IRS.
Yeah,
they're hidden in plain sight, and they're some of the most damaging entities to our survival.
yeah. I love how the Federal Reserve Bank is like not an entity of the federal government.
Well, just like the post
We
office.
just put federal in our name. It'd be cool.
The post office is not anymore federal. Yeah, it's
Well,
just
I
like,
didn't know that.
you name it. Yeah, you name it something that sounds like, this is what the government's really good at doing, is they're good at coming up with names that sound good, but they do the opposite of what they say.
It's palatable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole reason that cryptocurrency exists, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about cryptocurrency, like at least in principle. Not that passionate about all the Solana pump and dumps, but I'm passionate about the idea. Like Bitcoin is.
What, you don't like Buttcoin?
Or Fartcoin.
What about
Yeah.
Titcoin?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just very libertarian, very pure. Kind of dates back to like what this country's principles, or what this country was founded on, for those of us in the US. And I feel like we've strayed so far away from those ideals through multiple generations of unabashed greed and deceit.
Yeah.
So then, are you a opponent of institutional, backing of cryptocurrencies? All these ETFs and stuff are probably pretty bad, right? Because they're introducing those people who basically, took control of traditional markets, and now we're welcoming them with open arms to do the same.
I mean, I don't like
welcoming the fox into the hen house.
Yeah, exactly. Like I get what you're asking, and definitely, like, I was like, gosh, why is everybody celebrating ETFs? But I understand why they need to be involved. Like, I feel like cryptocurrency cannot exist in a bubble. We've seen what that's like. Like, that's early crypto, very early crypto. So I think like institutional investment into crypto ultimately is a good thing, but of course, like anything, there's going to be some drawbacks. And so I don't think crypto will ever function exactly the way that it was intended to, but I think that there's enough elements of structure within the crypto ecosystem that can function, like the strategic Bitcoin reserve, for instance. Like, that to me is like a very good thing. Like, should it actually play out, to kind of offer something to back our fiat currency. but
until the next administration comes in and drains it all overnight.
God, please no. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I do think that institutions have a place in crypto. I think it's not the worst thing that they're involved, but it's also not something to really celebrate either. When you see Larry Fink, talking about how Bitcoin is a risk-off asset right before the market dumps. So
sure.
Yeah, and then he made sure to say Bitcoin is risk off and Ethereum is risk on. That was kind of the implication. It's like, yeah, dude. I don't know. I think like every generation has had their revolutionary ideas, and I think like crypto is kind of the big idea of our generation. And then maybe someday it will function as a non-speculative asset, like especially Bitcoin, right? Like maybe someday it will be a true hedge against inflation, but I don't think it's going to replace gold, like certainly in the next like couple of years or anything. As like gold will always be gold. Like it's boring, but it functions the way it was intended to. So yeah, I don't know.
Which is low volatility generally, right?
Very low volatility. Yeah. So nobody's going to get rich off of it. But yeah, like I think institutional involvement to an extent is healthy. It will help get the space properly regulated, which I think regulation needs to happen. I mean, I don't think that the Wild West,
clarity.
Yeah, some kind of clarity. I mean, definitely not what people like what's that? Senator Pocahontas. What's her name? Oh yeah, Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren, yes.
yeah. Not like her like pro like bank stance or anything, but like Cynthia Loomis, right? Like, if I'm thinking of her name right, like people who are a little bit more level-headed and who understand crypto, if they can get behind some of this legislation, I think it will actually be a good thing for the industry. And while it's going to make crypto less volatile over time, which is going to happen anyways due to diminishing returns and diminishing volatility, I think it will be a good thing for our space. And feel like we're kind of in that transitionary phase between mass speculation and mass adoption. And so institutional involvement has to happen, in my opinion, for this space to get to mass adoption.
100%.
So here's another question, another speculation of far off into the future.
Sure.
I don't know if it's actually even happened now, but do you think there will be institutional, corporate on balance sheets for Fartcoin? And do you think any governments are going to stockpile Fartcoin?
Governments, no. I think that there may come a meme coin, like
an index fund
or index fund. Like I think something that could happen.
Isn't there something already on Solana that kind of does that?
There is on Jupiter. I think the Jupiter token itself is sort of an index, aggregate of like different cryptos. But I think there will be some kind of meme coin. Like I still think, and of course I'm biased because I am a boys club holder, extremely involved in the Furyverse. But like I look at the boys club community and the ecosystem, and I look at Pepe, And I think Pepe is kind of like, if you want to say what's the next Dogecoin or whatever, I think it most likely is Pepe. Some people might argue it's SPX 6900. I think that's another strong project, but the thing about, the Matt Furyverse is just there's so many different projects that are all interconnected. It's like ridiculous. So that's a pretty strong sector in itself. And I think that something really big could come out of that in the next risk on phase. And it could be, there could be a meme coin index or something. I think meme coins are here to stay. I don't think they're ever going away.
And I think too, the Furyverse is just more relatable to a lot of people, especially like younger generations, in comparison, like SPX or some of those that are like, yeah, it's a good meme, and but also it's like, okay, well, if the S&P eventually reaches that level, let's say, what I mean, like
6,900, yeah.
Right, like, okay, cool. So now is your meme like no longer relevant? Like, some of those, some of those more relatable, funny kind of things that are more of a lifestyle meme, like the Pepe verse, I think are like less limited in a way.
Yeah, and what's really nice is that I can at least tell you from my own experience, day in and day out, working with these projects, is that we're all supportive of each other. There's really no PvP amongst Boys Club projects. Like I work with the Bird Dog CTO leads all the time, and we're we'll do joint memes and joint raids, and it's not just with Bird Dog. Like there's a lot of other projects like from the Matt Fury Heads collection and things like that we're working with, and we just all support each other. We post in each other's telegrams, like we make stickers for each other. And I don't know, I mean, like I'm not part of like other meme coin communities, but like I mean I've seen like Unicorn Fart Dust, for instance. They have like influencers that are all like kind of like huddled around it, but honestly I haven't really seen what the Fury super, like we call ourselves a meme coin super community because we are just so heavily integrated with each other, and so that's kind of very appealing. And then also, like you were saying, it's relatable. There's a lot of creativity that's there with the memes, and then like side projects. Our meme arcade was supposed to be this like really huge deal, but unfortunately the creator kind of seems to have abandoned it. So for now, at least, hopefully he comes back. Yeah. But what was I getting
Well, I
at?
think your connection to all these other boys clubs, I think that actually shows up in price action too. There were distinct times that I remember all of you guys kind of pumping at the same time, and outperforming a lot of other ones because of your guys' link together. At least
Like
what it looked like.
Yeah, well, so like we consider ourselves beta plays on ETH, and so Pepe is kind of like I consider Pepe to be the true beta play for ETH, and then I would say like FOFAR is a beta play on Pepe. So if Pepe's not doing well, then we're not doing well, and Pepe's not doing well. So yeah, we're just hemorrhaging. But I think when eventually things turn around and ETH starts to, like, whenever ETH Bitcoin has a pump, we have a pump. I think part of that is just we're denominated in wrapped Ethereum, so but we all kind of pump at the same time, and we all kind of dump at the same time. So I don't know. There's camaraderie and misery loves company. It's funny, but one of I guess I could say this. So Kali Yuga, he's become kind of a good friend of mine from Crypto Simulation Theory. I remember him asking me about altcoins, and he was having some trouble with them, and I said, he asked if you should buy FOFAR, and it's like, well, of course I think you should. I mean, like, yeah, everybody go buy FOFAR. And he's like, well, yeah, misery loves company, and I just can't get that out of my head when he said that, because that's kind of what the boys club feels like right now. Like we're all just like so optimistic and so like like all of our telegrams are like a fraction of what they used to be. It's always the same people commenting in all of them. And in the Epe, for instance, it was like at one point it was just one guy commenting and it's just like you have to just love the enthusiasm that we have. But it's just like we're all working so hard, and then like just watching our market caps continue to sink. So but yeah, it's that spirit that we have that is still thriving even during these times. Like Bird Dog, they dropped some new music and stuff. Like we have music albums on our site too. Like I made those early on, and actually in the summer downtrend that we had, I thought that was bad, and I was like, man, I should be making music now, not then. But yeah, we just do fun shit together, like, spaces, joint spaces, things like that, like just whatever we can do to pass the time. And I've been just focusing on trying to make funny memes. Like, I don't want boring memes. Like, to me, like, there's enough of those out there. I want FOFAR doing like crazy shit. Like he's having affairs with with Pepe's girlfriend. They had like there's like a meme my wife made of like a threesome with them, and like just really off the wall, just like crazy shit. Like,
Yeah, you got some weird stuff. I'll be honest. You got some weird stuff.
You can blame me for that. Those are mostly my ideas. Because I just want memes to be funny, like bring entertainment, especially during this time. Like, and it bothers me when I see a meme that's just like doesn't have substance. So
Sure.
And I'm guilty of making some really crappy ones too. But yeah, so our goal is, FOFAR's the unhinged pig man, and so that's just like what we do. And I think that's, you've seen this with other projects as well, and that's in the animations and stuff like that. Just during times like this, if you can do anything, just make people laugh. That's kind of like give people hope and make them laugh.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Ron Jeremy. It's like an unhinged like pleasure maxi.
Yeah, I could get that. Yeah.
You'd expect him to be eating like an entire cheesecake and going to town on a couple of ladies.
Pretty much. Yeah, like my wife and I were talking about, like, let's have FOFAR do stuff that was done in like Jackass, So we put FOFAR. Yeah. We had FOFAR in a shopping cart, and Yeppe like pushed him down the hill, and like he like smacks into an old lady, and she's like, jumping out of the way or whatever. It's just funny shit like that.
Love it.
Yeah, you guys definitely have a good atmosphere with all your artwork. Very fun, very just kind of goofy. I like it.
It's a survival tactic during these times. At this point, it's like I look forward to making memes because it's like I said, I don't look forward to looking at our market cap. I don't look forward to looking at my portfolio, or really any chart at all. But and then the only bullish chart is Bitcoin dominance, and gold. So it's like there's not a whole lot to like really get excited about. But if that's where it's like, let's just make things fun and entertaining.
Yeah, it's a bit therapeutic.
Exactly.
That's
how you show up every day.
Yeah, that's one thing I try and do some of the funny stuff with based GigaChat, and I can't do the funny as well as you guys have done with FOFAR. I don't think. I just make it I don't know. I go through and it doesn't come out as funny as I think it would be. I gotta work on that.
What was helpful for us in the early days when we made, because initially FOFAR memes, they became pretty boring at one point. And we noticed that as a team, and we were like, we got to do something to change this. Like, FOFAR is just kind of getting stale. And so what we started to do was just like use ChatGPT to come up with ideas. So like you could take base GigaChat and like, depending on like how you want to portray him or like what attributes you want to really emphasize, you can like type those into ChatGPT and just say, come up with ideas. And it will it'll come up with, or Grok is good too. Like, you'd be surprised at some of the shit it comes up with. Like, it's like, wow, that's actually a pretty good idea.
All I'll say is every time I tried to ask it to do something funny, it's the most unfunny, uninspired, just like
really
garbage. At least from what I've seen. Maybe I'm giving a bad prompt. But
I think too, though, we've built ours into, you know what I mean? Like it is a much more serious meme, at least the way that we've done it, and it's like, it's very much like more self control and personal growth. And, so it's a little bit more of a, like when I was attracted to the project originally, it was like, I wanted people to really just like, not to be mean, but just to stop being pussies and to like sack up, and I was calling people like low T for basically just being afraid and, just to really giving into the fear, like you said earlier, some of the people being doomers,
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was like, well, hey, here's a meme that, you can kind of get on board with that is more about personal power, masculinity, like confidence in various aspects, so So
I love
it's,
that.
I think, a little bit harder to make that funny, but like, I kind of think that's not really the spirit of the project either.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's like a different style.
I love that. Like you guys have, I think it's important for your meme coin to be clearly defined as to your audience, right? Like if FOFAR started to get all serious, people would probably be like, what the fuck is this? But
Yeah,
like
100%.
for you guys, like you're offering something of value to people in the space because there's a lot of there's a lot of like a lot of guys in this space who don't know how to handle themselves. We'll just put it that way. And I feel like what you're offering is a refuge from that. Like teach people about masculinity, teach people what it means to be a man and like traditional values and all that stuff. And if you can do that with a meme coin, like you're giving your meme coin some purpose. And I see nothing wrong with that. I don't think you have to suddenly become funny or anything like that. I think it actually could work against you.
Right. It is. If it is funny, occasionally we do get, because we have a Giga bot essentially, that Jake
Oh, nice.
coded that we use. Jake, what's it based on?
I just gave him the most base Chad personality I could think of. There's like
I mean,
quite
what
a bit in there.
software, or like which AI?
It's using
Dolly?
GPT.
Oh, okay.
For memes, Dolly. Yeah.
Yeah, so for memes, it's Dolly, and it's like sometimes we'll put something in, and sometimes it comes up with some super funny shit. Like I think I asked it to like show base Giga Chad showering the plebes with his masculinity or something, and there's like a giant like shower faucet coming out of his crotch, and I mean
Yeah,
it did
like
that on its own, and that was
I'm
pretty
down.
fucking hilarious.
I'm totally down. I'm totally down to make a meme with you guys in it, and like never
Yeah.
will turn down a good collab.
Oh, yeah.
And we could find a way to make it funny and also like stoic at the same time. I'm not quite sure how we would do that, but I'm down.
Well,
Yeah,
I think a good way, because of FOFAR being so unhinged, is you could kind of have base Giga Chad almost reprimanding or giving more stoic advice to to FOFAR.
yeah. There'd be a lot of really cool angles with that.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Now we also have a bot too, the FOFAR bot that so there's a guy who runs a project called Club, which is basically like a boys club tribute coin. And he's been making bots for like all of our channels, like for Bird Dog and Yepe and even Mac Heath. Like this
Is
guy's like,
that Reagan?
yeah, Reagan. He's just
Yeah.
like, I've been working really closely with him. I'm so glad that it was actually one of the Max Heath guys introduced me to him, and he's just been such an asset to our project. If you
Yeah.
ever get a
No,
chance to work,
I saw the Max Heath one the other day, and it makes really good. Like, instead of the hyper realistic kind of images, it makes like real proper meme cartoon images.
yeah, he is a beast. Like he's just, I don't know. The dude's like working 24/7, and if there's ever like a little bug with something, he's right on it to fix it. He's been giving us like tips on how to like run our projects better. Like he's just an amazing guy.
He is. He is a good dude. Yeah, he even airdropped a bunch of us in Max Heath, like in the Max Heath team, airdropped us some club tokens, which I've just sat on forever, because I'm like, well, I'm obviously not going to sell them. Like, can't do
No
that to
way.
the guy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, super good dude. Very motivated.
he's a great guy. But yeah, I'm totally down for a little bit of a collab. Donathan, you and I, or any of you guys who ever wanted to do like a crazy ass meme, I'm down for it.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, we got to think of something.
Yeah,
There's a
it'd be
lot of
fun.
potential.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I know that initially we were only collabing within the boys club, Furyverse, but I have the attitude that fuck it, we'll collab with whoever wants to collab with us.
Yeah, that's kind of why we didn't really figure out. We wanted to reach out and kind of sort of collab with some people, but didn't exactly know how to necessarily do that. And that's why we're doing this GigaCast thing, to try and get to, talk to some people, bring authenticity into, the crypto realm, trying to figure out who's behind some of these things, and just, have some conversations. So
Yeah. No, I love it. This is great.
all right, well, I think that's pretty good. I'm about to wrap up here. Is there any other questions you guys want to get in, Scott, Jake? Willie and I have been kind of monopolizing the the talking this time.
No, you guys did great. Definitely asked some of the ones I was going to, and I was just enjoying listening in.
Yeah, no, I also just absorbed all the knowledge you guys threw out. I appreciate it, and it was good to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure being invited. Thanks to Kali Yuga for introducing me to Donathan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thanks for everyone for joining. We'll talk to you later. See you in the next episode.
Bye. All right, sounds good. Thank you.